you had Muslims, you had Catholics, and you had Jews living together, conducting their business. Then you had Torquemada and the Inquisition, where Jews were told that they had to convert to Catholicism or they were put to death and they were tortured. You have the Crusades, the First and Second Crusades in Europe and in the Holy Land. It was really only with Pope John the 23rd at the First Ecumenical Council when he said, under no uncertain terms should Christians blame Jews for the death of Jesus, that Jesus was tried and crucified by Rome. Now, also interestingly enough, during that same Frontline program, they went over the four Gospels: Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. Okay. The first three were the Synoptic Gospels, and they had a lot in common. A lot of quotes strictly from Jesus, things that he said. It wasn't until John, the latest Gospel that was written, okay, that he definitely makes there's a schism between Jews and Christians. John refers to his movement as a Christian movement, and there was this schism that the Christians could not meet in synagogues anymore, because to be a Christian you had to follow the teachings of Jesus and say that you believed in him, which was the antithesis of what the Jews believed, because according to Jewish doctrine, the Jews are still waiting for the Messiah to come. Okay. Personally, I used to joke with my father. Used to joke with me because I've always been a lover of various religions, namely Christianity and Judaism, and the relationship between the two. And my father once asked me. He said, because I used to watch all the specials and all the movies that they had, and he said, would you have been a Christian if you had lived during the time of Jesus? And I said I would have been a disciple, because that's what I believe, that's the way people should live their lives. Unfortunately, not everybody's like that.
Okay, let me just read a couple of notes so we can discuss it. Okay, let's go. Flycatch. Islam is not a religion but a cult of death and destruction. We live in the present, and the sins of our fathers have no bearing on you or I.
Well, when you say Islam is a cult, I think it was low after 635 or 600 something. Supposedly in a dream, Mohammed was brought up by the angel Gabriel, and God spoke to Mohammed, and God said that you are my last prophet, blah, blah, blah. And no notes were... See, the thing that's surprising is that no notes were taken. All right, everything that Mohammed remembered when he came back down to earth, he had transcribed, and that became the basis for the Quran. Okay, which is obviously the Muslim and Islamic Bible. Okay, and those were supposed to be words directly spoken by God. All right, what Muhammad claims was that Jesus was a prophet, but God spoke to the people through Jesus. Okay, now, I don't understand why you can't draw caricatures of Muhammad. I mean, Lord knows that over the years there have been plenty of satirical cartoons drawn about Jews with big noses, okay, and Christians, but we don't turn around and say we're going to go kill somebody.
Well, but let's go back to what he's saying. Islam is not a religion but a cult. of death and destruction. ISIS may be a cult, if you want to call it that, but Islam is not. Islam itself is not a cult.
No, because if you go back to Abraham, Abraham's first son was Ishmael, with Hagar, the handmaiden. When God spoke to Abraham, he told him that his seed would be as numbered as the stars in the heavens. Now, after Ishmael came Isaac. Both of them, okay, from Ishmael we get Islam, okay, and from Isaac you get the Jews. From the Jews you get Jesus and the New Testament, but based upon the four Gospels, okay, that I mentioned before. So Abraham is truly the father of the three main religions. And when Abraham died, Ishmael and Isaac together buried their father.
Okay. Now we hear flycatchers saying Muslims pray to the moon god, depicted by their symbol of faith. I don't know about that.
Well, because I believe, the crescent, as part of their symbol is a crescent moon.
Right.
So that's why he's making reference to the moon god. I don't know. I've never heard that before. But even if it was true, I don't see what bearing it would have. I mean, listen, I think all three religions could respect each other, and we'd be a hell of a lot better off if that was the case. But unfortunately, what should be isn't always what is.
I mean, let's face it. If 1.6 billion Muslims started going at it against the 1.3 million Christians, 1.3 billion Christians, and then you got all the Chinese who are Buddhists and Hindus, and we'd have a hell of a
and somewhere down at the bottom of the list,
the Jews.
You got the Jews.
Yeah. It will be a hell of a war.
Well, you see, that's probably what will happen eventually when the apocalypse finally occurs.
You're defending the boil called Islam. Why is that? I'm not defending Islam. I'm pointing out a fact.
And I'm only trying to explain it. I'm really not what I'm defending are the three religions, that the basis that they have to exist. Okay? Judaism, because God made a covenant with Abraham. Islam and the Muslims, because God also had a covenant with Abraham and his son Ishmael. And Christianity, because Christianity is an offshoot, or Christianity could not exist without the Old Testament. I mean, Jesus, as one religious figure said when he was riding in the car with his mother, a Southern Baptist happened to say, his mother said something about Jesus and the Jews, and she said, Jesus was not Jewish, and her son had to stop from laughing in her face because it was his mother, and he corrected her by saying, but Mom, Jesus was a Jew. He was born a Jew and he died a Jew. He didn't die as anything other than a Jew.
It's true.
He was buried in Jewish tradition, and it wasn't until the four Gospels of Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John were written, and this is anywhere from 65 A.D. to about 250 A.D. Now, obviously, the original people did not write the book. They were written by scribes, and scribes can make mistakes, when they're translating.
Flycatch, do you believe that all Muslims are bad? Is that what you're saying? I mean, I don't understand. we're not defending. Okay, let's see. God is an abstract concept that can't be proven by science. We believe in God because of faith, but then again, faith is just a whimsical premise.
Well, I think we all have faith.
Premise.
No, you made a mistake. Go all the way down. That's it. That's his last statement.
Yeah.
Well, I can only point to one thing. If you remember your Greek mythology, okay, and you remember the story of Pandora and Pandora's box. The gift was given. Don't open the box. Pandora, or whoever it was given everything that there was to have in the world. But simply because you tell somebody not to open something, it gives them all the more reason to be tested and to do just the opposite. It's like when you tell children not to do something and then they do it. The box was opened, and all the ills of society in the world came out. Disease, sickness. It was almost like when Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge, and all of a sudden they realized that they were naked, and they were thrown out of the Garden of Eden. Okay, so it was with Pandora's box, and people were made to suffer, but the very last thing to come out of the box was hope. Hope and faith. Because without hope and faith, life isn't worth living. People who give up like that, you have to have a reason for getting out of bed every day. Okay, no matter how depressed you find yourself, and believe me, I know that people can find themselves very depressed. Okay, but there has to be a reason to get up every day and to think how lucky you are that you're alive. Okay?
Well, Mark, what he's saying, Flycatcher, the religion is based solely on faith.
Well, right, you can't see God.
And it's basically it's an unproven fact.
But God is omnipotent and omniscient. He knows everything, and He's all around you. When you look at a flower, that's God. When you see a woman giving birth, that's God. Okay? All of the miracles, just like, I almost hate to say it, when there's an act of terrorism.
It's an act of God, huh?
Well, either that or, we know Satan exists. There are people that say Satan doesn't exist. It's just man's inhumanity to his fellow man.
Okay, let's see. It is not mythology because the human
mind was created.
You gotta excuse us. Our eyes are getting shot.
Human mind was created by another race, not of this earth. So, if I'm correct, who created them? Okay, so what Flycatcher is almost saying, it almost sounds like he is a Scientologist, and he believes that beings from outer space came down and commingled with the earliest man, and that we are actually the descendants of an alien being and someone from Earth. Okay, if we were to follow Flycatch's premise here. Correct me if I'm wrong, Flycatch.
I mean, listen, whoever created us, to me, it really is irrelevant. We live with we have certain faiths, true or not, there's certain things we believe in, and that's how we act. We have the Ten Commandments. All our laws are based on the Ten Commandments. Were they written by God? Were they written by a shyster lawyer 10,000 years ago, whatever? It does,
Well, but it does matter, because to religious people, the Ten Commandments are shared by all three religions. The Ten Commandments are shared by Jews, by Catholics, and